So the modern life is a busy one, right? And then many of us are trying to stack homesteading on top of our jobs, the kids, family, school, and it's challenging to get it all done. Do you ever find yourself struggling to put all the pieces together? How do I get food on the table for the kids? How do I get, the education done? How do I get the animals fed? How do I get the pastures managed? How do I tend to the garden? How in the world do I make all this happen? Most of us are very motivated that's living this life, but motivation alone doesn't get us there. So having well-articulated systems is the key to managing all the tasks that you have to do on your homestead or even in your life to help get you through the ups and downs, the times it's hard to remember what to do, or the times that you've got to have somebody else do it for you, or you're trying to train a whole bunch of kids, or maybe you're trying to train somebody to take care of your farm while you're gone, right? We've got to have well-articulated systems. And when I say articulated, what I mean particularly is written down systems, and not just on the notepad or the clipboard, but somewhere where you can easily see them in the area that you're working in, and that other people can see them, because most of us are probably working with other people. We're certainly working with a spouse, a partner, probably kids, maybe parents, and then again, sometimes neighbors and friends. And so this is where the whiteboard is your friend. I love the whiteboard. We're standing here in the barn. This is our organizational system for getting things done throughout the year in the barn and out in the field. So not for the garden, not for the household, but for animal management and property management in general. I haven't always done this. I've only done this for a few years, but as our systems got larger, as our homestead got larger, as we've got more people participating, the kids were getting older, and I found myself having to spend a lot more time managing, not just out there getting things done myself. I want one, we need the help. We're doing a lot, and of course we're teaching the kids how to be a part of things, how to understand the land, love the animals, work, contribute, make a positive contribution to the world. And so they're involved, and I'm working to teach them to get things done, but I can't be everywhere at one time. So I found myself saying, okay, you go do this, you go do that. All right, here's your list of things. And I was doing it verbally because I'm pretty good at just keeping things in my head and having a list and getting it done myself. That always worked for me. But I found it wasn't working. I was getting frustrated, and in turn, I was frustrating the kids. And I was getting frustrated with them because they weren't remembering what I was saying. Maybe I forgot to say something. Maybe I didn't speak clearly. So case in point, I was having to travel quite a bit for work a couple years ago, and I wasn't here as much. The kids knew their way around really well, but they're doing most of the barn chores, and this was in the winter time. And they're feeding the animals, they're watering, they're having to deal with, electric water heaters to keep the water from freezing over. They're having to deal with deep bedding and getting wood shavings into the stalls. And it just wasn't going great. And I found myself frustrated because I felt like whenever I was around, I was training, I was saying the same things over and over, but then just be gone for a day or I don't come up a couple evenings in a row. And it was kind of falling apart, and I felt like I was really clear. We weren't getting enough wood shavings in, so it was getting too poopy, and waters were getting too low, and things just weren't rolling along, and I found myself frustrated, I found myself irritated, I found myself at odds with a couple of the older kids that felt like I was really being tough on them, and I realized I got to find a better way to do this to help me be a better teacher, a better dad, but also help give them confidence and just learn what it is I'm wanting them to learn. So we have the whiteboard, and we have a whole lot of things we've got to get done on the homestead, whether it's during the winter here in the barn, where most of our activities are pretty isolated to the barn because we've got snow on the ground for 5 to 6 months, or whether it goes out into pasture. So this list rotates a little bit over the course of the year. I'll talk through that, and it's going to change depending on your homestead and what you're doing. It may change during the year, like I said. It may be different for you than it is for me. There may be some things in here that I've missed that I'm not thinking of. But this is the idea that we have this whiteboard, we have this list of things to do. You can see we've got daily. So these are our daily jobs, everything we need to think about every day. We've got weekly, the semi-regulars, things we need to do to just, they don't get done every day, but it's maintenance, it needs to get caught up with. Then we've got projects. These might be once a year, once a month, but they're different things that we want to accomplish over the longer course of time. So you can see how we're starting dialed in, and then we're opening it up and spreading out. Then we usually have a buy. In all of this, we usually need things, right? We run low on things. We need a tool, something breaks. Anybody can come up here and write down, hey, we need this, and it helps us remember. It helps us get it down, because that happens to me, right? Or it happens to one of the kids, and they realize we need something, but they forget to tell me. And then like 4 days later, it's a problem. Hey, we're out of cat food. Nobody said anything, right? If it gets written down, then we see it. That's how I organize it. I find this very, very helpful. This board's kind of clean right now. The kids will come in and write fun little quotes, fun little stories here. That's cool. You see we've made it fun with different colors. We've got these fun little erasers. The gist, it's a job, but it makes it interesting. It makes it engaging. Probably a lot of creative ways to do that. So the kids get the freedom to engage in this and add their little bits and pieces, and it encourages them to be involved, because one of my rules is that you come to the board every single day. It'd be great if you did it twice. You come out to do your chores, you look at the board, you go do everything, you come back, because I teach my kids a job is not done unless you've come and reviewed it and thought it through and made sure you did everything you were supposed to. The board helps you do that. If they come back to it and go, oh, yep, watered the animals, they think through it real quick. I got all the animals. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot about the sheep. Okay, let me go back and do that. That is a fantastic reminder. It takes the pressure off everybody. They've got it right here. It becomes a fun, interactive way to keep everybody on track while getting the job done. So let's look at the board here. These are just some key things that I think are very helpful for you guys to know about managing your farm. It's not exhaustive. There's other things that could be here. There might be different things for your farm. Here's the key things that we do daily. Number one, and this is, in my opinion, one of the most important things that we all need to do better, and we need to train ourselves and our kids is, and that is observe the animals. Situational awareness and observation is extremely important. I think it's an important skill anywhere in life, but now you're working with animals. You got different size animals. We're responsible to take care of them. We need to always be observing. So this is teaching the kids to observe in general about the animals. I just have a list of a few things. This could be much longer. It could be rearranged, but are they injured? So when you're walking in to take care of the animals, you're just looking at them. Are they moving well? They're not limping. You know, there's no blood. You're not seeing any sign of injury. Injury happens, right? We want to deal with it as quickly as possible if it does. Is the animal attentive or sulky? A happy, well taken care of animals, their ears are generally up. They're twitching. They're moving around. They're aware. Their head is up. In animals, its ears are down. Its neck's down. It's not moving much, maybe. It might be laying down. That should get your attention and go, okay, I need to do some further observation. Look at their feet. Their feet is a good sign of health, you know. Is everything okay? And we're not talking like deep examination here for this. We're just talking, looking over as you're going about your business, observing and making sure that the animals are in good condition, and it teaches you to know what's going on. Are they too thin, which is more often a problem than too fat? You know, is our feeding program working? You know, are we seeing an animal slim down, which could be either a feeding issue or a health issue? Is there anything unusual? Is there something out of place? You know, you get to know animals, you get to know their character, you get to know what's going on. And so something out of the normal also helps you understand if there's an issue that you need to deal with. And so all of these things are just helping us take good care of our animals, be aware of our environment, and observe. We have a lot less problems. We solve the problems we do have faster by being situationally aware and observing animals. So I ask the kids to look at this every day. So this helps train them besides actually do it. I want it to become second nature. Of course, water all the animals. I feel like I shouldn't have to write that down, but working with kids, there's a lot going on. It helps us remember to do the things that we need to do. Of course, feed all the animals. Right now they're in the barn, so we've got to get them their hay or their grain or whatever it is they're getting fed. And of course, we want to check minerals. We check them daily, fill them if they're empty. So these are some just core daily. They're the basics, but they're there and they're clear Everybody knows they're supposed to do this. This is, to give you an example, part of when we move the animals out into the pasture in the spring. We do rotational grazing, so all of our animals move around. So there's a system there that we need to keep up with. And a few other things we need to do, we need to be observing our pasture daily. And I didn't have this one at first, but I realized some of my older kids were going out and they're doing the moving of the animals, but they weren't really thinking about the forage and the pasture and observing it. They were just doing the same thing day in, day out. You can't do that with rotational grazing. You got to pay attention, you got to observe. So teaching them to think about the pasture, you would need to do the same thing if you have animals out there. We're moving animals. We do a daily rotation. We want to be 2 to 3 days ahead in our thinking and planning that rotation out, knowing where we're going, how the forage is doing, how the animals are doing. Is there anything out of the normal, just moving a section of fence we need to do? Set up the paddock a day ahead. A lot of people just go out and do the paddock at the time they're moving, but here's what I found. Life things get disrupted and somebody gets injured or somebody's got to run to the store. There's a million things that happen. Taking care of that move the day ahead when you're out there and things are normal just helps you out and makes things smoother if you do get a ripple in your program. Of course, then we're moving the animals daily. It is tempting, especially sometimes if mom and dad aren't around and things are going on. We've got older kids. Oh, we'll just skip it today. We want to make sure we're remembering to do that. And then always observing and repairing the fences. Because this is rotational grazing, we're working with portable fences and we're moving them around a lot, so we need to stay aware of the condition of the fences and is everything as it should be. Do we need to remember next time we come back to the barn, because now we're out in the pasture and it's a long trip, do we need to come back next time with something? So staying aware. Again, I just want to iterate, you see a lot of observe in here. Constant observation helps us stay on top of things. So that's our daily list. This is the daily list we're using. It'll adjust through the year. If we change a program or something, there might be something else we need in here. But you want your daily list that's your go-to for your chore list. Everybody knows what to do. Next, there are weekly things that need to get done and need to happen, and this helps us remember so it doesn't go by. And usually we do ours. I used to say Thursday up here, Thursday chores or Thursday jobs, because what we do is we say, okay, weekend's coming. We're generally going to play a little bit more. There's more activities. We're going to make sure we're doing the major items before we go play. So generally I require the kids, myself, to do this on Thursdays. We want to fill all minerals. Yes, we're checking them here. We're staying aware. We're filling them if they happen to get low, because sometimes in certain seasons animals do consume more minerals. But regardless, we're going to top them off every week. Clean the waters. This comes and goes, but some waters, start to get a little bit messy, so you're observing, and if they need it, we're cleaning them out. That doesn't usually happen out in the pasture, but in here it can. It gets hay in it, gets gunk in it. Sometimes an animal backs up, poops in it. You want to keep it clean. We practice deep bedding, so we're going to add shavings to stalls. We actually often do this more than once a week, but this helps make sure that we stay up with it and at least once a week. We're getting that carbonaceous material into the stalls so that we're not getting a mucky, pooey, unhealthy mess, which again is where a lot of health problems come from for your animals. Organize the barn tools. I would love it if everybody put the tool away the correct place every time they got it out, but that doesn't happen. I don't even do that. So once a week we take time to look around, make sure all our tools are where they go, everything's organized, we know if something's broken, lost. Try to solve that problem. Fuel up farm vehicles. There's nothing more frustrating than going to do a job or you got to take care of something quick and your equipment is out of fuel. So we just top it off once a week, and that has almost eliminated that frustration of all of a sudden I need to get somewhere quick and I'm going to run out of gas if I go. That's a real good one we like. Lubricate farm vehicles. Tractors should generally be lubricated about every 8 hours of use. We've found we generally, if we do that once a week, sometimes we skip a week because we haven't used it 8 hours. That works pretty good. It helps us not forget. Clean up any trash. There's always baling twine. There's always stuff. There's always something. So once a week, even though I try to encourage everybody to do it regularly, I found if I just do this, I'm not bothering them too much and being nitpicky, and yet our place is staying clean and getting maintained. Dump run, that one gets forgotten, so sometimes we just got to remember. So those are our weeklies. Again, they may change for you, but this is really, really helpful. I could even see where you might have a monthly for your farm, where there's some monthly bigger jobs as well, and that's fine. Again, there's different ways to do this. This is just what's been working for us. And I can't tell you, since implementing this, The only thing I have to train at this point is to remember to look at the board. If I realize somebody wasn't doing something, were you looking at the board every day? No, I forgot. Okay, go back and look at the board. It simplifies a lot and helps a ton. We all have projects. It's helpful for me. This is more for me to be thinking ahead than anything else. What are the projects I want to get done in the next season, the next year? And so I've got a list here. We've been working on a barn addition. We didn't get it all done in the fall, so we're going to finish that this spring. We've got water system improvements in the barn that we want to make. We've got some electrical. The barn electric isn't very good, and when we have really cold weather and we've got to have water heaters going, we have problems and we're scrambling. So we want to try to make that better. Reminder to stay on top of ordering our hay and grain. We're going through the winter, so we'll be real low coming out of spring on certain things, and I'll stay up on that. There's more I'm going to add to this, but a spring fence check, that's just a good one I put on here to remind me and to remind you guys. You need to go through and check your fences once a year, your permanent fences, besides maybe going through your portable stuff. Tighten fences, make sure everything's good. You don't want to find out you got a problem by putting your animals out and the animal tells you you've got a hole in your fence. So keep up on your projects. I mentioned before, that buy is just to help us to remember what we need to buy instead of tucking it into our mind and forgetting. If we get it up there and we're looking at the board regularly, then it's going to get on the list sometime next time somebody's going to the hardware store or the feed store. And really, that's it. You can add little other things. This has been real helpful for us, and one of the girls did this just to help herself remember the dairy cow rations and what the dairy cow is getting. Right now we're dry, so nobody is milking, but when they are, this helps them know. It also helps, we've got multiple milkers. If the regular milker gets sick and the other person that milks hasn't been up here for a while, dealing with a milk cow, they know exactly what to do. So there's a lot of iterations that you could come up with that work for you and your farm, but the key to the system is the whiteboard that's easy to write, easy to erase. It's large, it's in a prominent location that everybody's going to see when they're going about their daily business on the homestead. Wow, I can't tell you how much this has done for us, how much smoother things go. We still forget things. There's, you know, still got to train kids. I still lose track of things. But this has solved, I'll bet 80% of the challenge, and it's made working, particularly together in the family setting, it's made working in the barn with family and while training kids much, much more enjoyable. Not just for me, but for the kids. Our relationship is better out here. We have less problems, we have less issues, we stay on top of it better. And we've actually talked quite a bit about homestead systems and making your life easier. So if you want to see some of our other videos on that, check this out.